If you want to know ways on how to find an employer so you can come here in Canada to work as a caregiver, keep on watching. How can I find an employer? To answer that, I'll be sharing 3 ways, 2 of which are experience-based, from me, my cousin and one close friend. The remaining 1 is from related articles that I have seen online. The first one is, your employer will be an eligible family member, friend, or even someone they know in Canada. As for me, it's my family member, specifically my aunt, and her family here. For the advantage of this option, first, it will definitely give the emotional assurance that someone you personally know will be there for you in Canada. The feeling of having a family in a foreign land, which is a big help, not only in during the adjustment phase, but even throughout your life in Canada. Also, there is a great chance that despite of challenges that may occur, your application will be pursued and monitored, not left hanging. On the other hand, if we will give disadvantage for this option, in some cases, either the employer or the caregiver might take advantage of the help given or received, which sometimes reach the point of family problems and even a totally ruin one. In relation to that, I'm just so thankful that I have good story to share. My aunt and her family are so loving and supportive of me since my day 1 here in Canada. Proceed. The second way on how to have an employer is through initially come here in Canada as a student or visitor, then apply to change status into a work permit as a caregiver. The good thing about this, particularly for the student to worker transition, is obtaining a related Canadian education will benefit you in applying jobs. Similarly, while studying, you are also allowed to legally work in accordance to the immigration policy. Also, majority of employers would most likely prefer an inside Canada applicants, so they can urgently start with the job once the work permit arrives, because for some countries, like Philippines, an approved work permit and visa will not mean that you can fly to Canada right away. There are still certain requirements that we need to comply in our home country, and in my case it took me a year to complete those. For another cons, it is a much bigger financial requirement to take this entry pathway, both student and visitor permit. In addition, of course, to the work permit application, expect to pay for more than one immigration process. I have a cousin who is now processing to change her status from student to caregiver, and a close friend from visitor to caregiver too. I'll be happy to share their application and its outcome, if of course, they will permit. So stay tuned in this channel by hitting the subscribe and bell button. Now for third and last option, find employers through recruitment agencies or even authorized government websites in Canada. I provided the links of related articles for this, and they are not mine. I just saw them online, and I have not personally known someone who got employed there. May I also say that prior to the pandemic, the release of the 2 caregiver programs led to the advertisements of many caregiver job posts, including in the Philippines. The probable reason, which I already mentioned, is that for the employers, LMIA is no longer needed. Now, for the advantage of our number 3, if it's a legal recruitment agency, it is a sure employment, and some agencies are offering no placement fee if bound to Canada. Having said that, disadvantage also exists. Sadly, they are fraud self-proclaimed agencies who only wants money from those who are dreaming to come to Canada. We are close to the end of this video, so before we proceed to the last part, which is my personal tips, just a disclaimer, I'm no immigration expert, but presently I'm a caregiver here in Canada. The information that I shared are gathered from reading in the official IRCC website. You can find the link in the description button. Also, boost me up to make more videos by clicking the like button. Your comments are also welcome. For my first advice, if you already have an employer, take a quick move to start other eligibility requirements, including the language exam and the Educational Credential Assessment, also known as ECA. This is because these 2 may take several months to be finished. You don't want to make your employer wait too long and be afraid that they might back out. Secondly, If you will choose option 2 or 3 that I have mentioned earlier, those involve competition among other applicants, it will give you the edge. If your language exam and ECA are also ready, however, be mindful for their validity. For instance, language exam in IELTS is valid for 2 years, while ECA is valid for 5 years. As promised, stay tuned in my upcoming videos for each. To be notified, just hit the subscribe and bell button. Similarly, be extremely careful in applying online, and even in choosing a recruitment agencies, especially if it involves money. Always search if they are legally authorized. Always doubt if you're being asked to pay first. Lastly, for the number 2 option that I shared, apply the 2 P's, pray earnestly, and plan carefully. It is because you also need to be financially ready. Also, be prepared for any uncertainties. If this video helps you, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Your comments are also welcome. And that's all for this video. Thank you for watching.
Oh.